मैम वो डिजर्टेशन की डेट मेरी जा चुकी है मैम, सितंबर में ही थी सबमिशन की, मुझे अब पता चला है।
डेजर्टेशन के लिए आपको कोई गाइड अलॉट किया था?
मैम कुछ नहीं मैम, पता ही नहीं मुझे मैम।
आपके कोऑर्डिनेटर कौन थे, उनसे बात की थी आपने?
मैम फर्स्ट टाइम ऐसे मीटिंग में मैं ज्वाइन हुआ हूँ मैम, और कोई ग्रुप मुझे मिली है अभी तक तो इससे पहले मैं पता ही नहीं था मुझे कुछ भी।
ओके, तो आपका एक बार आप मैम का नंबर है ना ग्रुप पे, आप एक बार मैम से बात करो।
जी मैम।
वो आपकी कोऑर्डिनेटर है राइट, आपके इस प्रोग्राम की। तो आप उनसे एक बार बात करो कि आपका गाइड कौन होगा, क्योंकि मैं पीएचडी होल्डर नहीं हूँ, तो मैं आपको गाइड नहीं कर सकती हूँ। डेजर्टेशन के लिए, प्रोजेक्ट्स के लिए मैं गाइड करती हूँ, नॉट फॉर द डेजर्टेशन। तो उसके लिए आपको गाइड अलॉट करेंगे वो,
जी मैम।
है ना। उसके अंडर आप, उनके अंडर आपको काम करना होगा। तो अभी तो आपका लेट हो गया। फिर आप एक बार बात करो मैम से कि मैम ऐसा ऐसा है, मैं क्या करूँ,
जी मैम।
है ना। स्मृति मैम से बात करो एक बार।
जी मैम। थैंक यू मैम।
और किसी को कोई क्वेश्चन है तो प्लीज पूछ लो। आप में से किसी का आ रहा था कि मैंने साइनॉप्सिस सबमिट किया है और ग्रेडिंग नहीं हुई है। साइनॉप्सिस तो सिर्फ अप्रूवल के लिए होता है। वंस इट इज अप्रूव, उसके बाद आप प्रोजेक्ट्स बनाते हैं एंड देन ग्रेडिंग होती है। कौन था, आलोक आई थिंक कुछ नाम से था, ग्रुप में मैंने देखा था। तो आप सब भी आप भी जब प्रोजेक्ट के लिए साइनॉप्सिस बनाओगे, इट इज जस्ट अ जिस्ट ऑफ व्हाट यू आर गोइंग टू डू प्रोजेक्ट में, और वो बना के आप फर्स्ट अप्रूवल लेते हैं अपने गाइड का कि यस मैं ये करना है मुझे, एंड देन आप प्रोजेक्ट स्टार्ट करते हैं। तो आप सबके लिए भी है, अगर किसी को इसमें कोई कंफ्यूजन है तो। सिर्फ साइनॉप्सिस लगा देने से यू विल नॉट गेट द ग्रेडिंग। ओके ठीक है, विल स्टार्ट आज का चैप्टर। एंड मैं सबसे नाउ, आप सब प्रेजेंट हो, प्लीज शो योर फेसेस एक बार। गुड, विलास फर्स्ट वन टू। और लोग भी दिखाइए। नवीन, बाकी आई थिंक आर नॉट प्रेजेंट। आर यू ऑल प्रेजेंट? ओके, गुड। प्रबलीन, अंकिता, दिशा।
Ma'am, some internet issues are there. I am resolving out. I am
ओके
present
फाइन
all the
फाइन, नो इश्यूज नो
time.
इश्यूज।
Okay.
और बाकी सिर्फ ज्वाइन होके चले गए हैं क्या? For you, it's 2 hour class. For me, it's 10 hour class. Every day I have to make presentation and then I come here, right? Okay. Now we start today's session, and आज का फर्स्ट मैं आपसे एक क्वेश्चन करना चाहती हूँ। आपकी क्या, व्हाट इज योर व्यू, एग्रेरियन क्लास क्या होता है? कैन यू टेल मी समथिंग अबाउट दैट, अगर आपने पढ़ा हो बुक में थोड़ा भी तो। व्हाट इज एग्रेरियन क्लास?
Ma'am, that class which lives in a, economically weaker section.
Agrarian class.
Uh,
Anyone else?
Ma'am, I think agrarian class refers to the communities which belong to the which mainly practice agriculture as their main occupation.
Okay. And anything else? Okay. agrarian class, like we do have service class urban cities mein, business class, even there also, they are in rural areas also, there are service class, business class, people are working, people are doing business, but similarly it agrarian class is there. तो अब सर्विस, इफ वी टॉक अबाउट सर्विस क्लास, उसके अंदर बहुत सारे होते हैं क्लासेस, लाइक सम कोई इंजीनियर है, कोई डॉक्टर है, दे आर डिफरेंट क्लासेस। सिमिलरली वी डू हैव इन रूरल एरियाज में जो एग्रेरियन क्लास है, उनके अंदर कौन कौन से लोग आते हैं, तो विल लैंडलॉर्ड्स हैं, दोज हु आर वर्किंग ऑन फार्म्स, ऐसे बहुत सारे अलग अलग डिफरेंट लोग आते हैं। तो टुडे विल टॉक अबाउट दैट, एग्रेरियन मूवमेंट्स विल टॉक अबाउट, and or in block 3, it's block 3 of your MRD 101, and we'll talk about land reforms. I think आप सबने पढ़ा होगा in 8 9 10th class में land reforms के बारे में, so it is all the same, only some details are given about different land reforms. And then green revolution we did yesterday also, some part of it, and extension service in rural areas. So we'll be covering 4 topics today in block 3 of your MRD 101. I'll start with my presentation now. Sorry. Can you all see? Can you all see the presentation?
Display window is seen, presentation is not seen.
A presentation is not seen?
Yes.
Just a minute, huh?
Visible, madam.
Now it's visible?
Yes, yes.
Okay, fine.
Yes, ma'am.
So, Unit 1 covers agrarian movements. First, we'll talk about the agrarian movements. Basically, movements, protest, right? So, why do agrarian class people do protest? Especially, it is related to pre-independent era. So, why do the agrarian class people protested? You can guess out. Can you mention few reasons? Any one of you?
Due to better price, due to low price of their crop produce, like MSP protests sometimes going on against the low price given by the government according to the farmers.
Yes. Yes. Anything else? It is happening till date also. They are not getting the right price for their produce, and they have this Kisan Andolan is going on till date. So similarly, different movements took place in the before independence, also after independence also, because of different reasons. Before independence, it was like farmers were exploited by the landlords, they were not paid wages. So many reasons were there, like the big landlords, they didn't get right price, as you said, for their produce. So different movements were for different reasons took out throughout India, took place throughout India, and still it's going on. It's a continuous process, you can say, because every time people do revolt for on different issues, and we are talking about agrarian issues. As first we'll talk, as I asked you, what is agrarian class? So it was the concept given by Vargava and Dr. Gadgil. They defined what is the agrarian structure in villages. So Daniel Thorner has suggested that one could divide agrarian population of India into three different categories. First was income obtained from land, that is through rent, one's own cultivation or wages. The nature of right, that is ownership right, tenancy right, sharecropping right, or no right at all. The extent of field work actually performed, that is doing no work at all, doing partial work, doing total work, and doing work for others to earn wages. On the basis of these roles, like someone used to take rent for their land, some used to work for people on their land. So on the basis of these roles, they have defined different categories. And on this basis, Daniel Thorner spoke of three class, that the structure like of agrarian class: Malik, Kisan, and Majdoor. So who were Maliks? You can see the slide and can tell.
Landowner is a Malik.
Yes. They used to rent their land, they used to give their land to the cultivators, and they were the Maliks. So, first class in the structure is Malik or landlords. Sec- Under that, it comes absentee landlords or big landlords. Can you tell me who are absentee landlords? ये तो 9th 10th में सबने पढ़ा होगा. Anyone?
Who has
Try.
acquired land?
Okay. लैंडलॉर्ड्स लाइक आपने सुना होगा, बहुत लोगों के लैंड है इन डिफरेंट प्लेसेस, राइट? They simply used to
Yes, ma'am.
in earlier time they simply used to take the rent, but they're not bothered कि उसका maintenance कैसे करना है, क्या
Correct.
करना है. So they were actually not present on their land. They were in different parts, but they holded land at different places. So they were called the absentee landlords or the big landlords, because they acquired lots of landlord, like acres of lands. So that's why they were called big landlords also, or absentee landlords. They never cared for their land. They just wanted rent from for their land. Then the rich residential landowners, those maliks who reside in the village in which they own land. Under the malik or landlords, there's two subcategories, that is absentee landlords and the rich landlords. They used to reside in the same village, and they just gave their land for cultivation to others. Now, second is Kishan or working peasants, those who used to work on others' land. Small land, or under this also, there are two subcategories: small landowners and substantial tenants. Like small landowners, they used to hold small lands It was their own land they used to cultivate, but they could only meet their own requirements. That's why they are called small landowners. And substantial tenants, those who used to work on cultivate others land, they were used to, and they used to distribute the profit with them, share the profit with them. And the third is mazdoor or laborers. They are poor people, those who used to work on others land, they have on wages.
Wages.
They didn't hold any their own land. They used to work on others, and they were totally dependent on others for the wages and all. Either they used to get in kind. Earlier they used to get in kind, and that too it was not enough. That's why these revolt took place. They were really exploited by the landowners. Agrarian class structure in India varies from one region to another. The relationship among classes and social composition of groups that occupy specific class position in relation to land control and land use in India are so diverse and complex that it is difficult to incorporate them in general scheme, because we can't have a general structure कि हर village का same structure होगा. It depends on the demography, on the people residing in that village. किसी के मे बी किसी विलेज में किसी का भी बड़ा लैंड नहीं हो, कोई भी सब छोटे किसान ही हो. सो एवरी विलेज हैज different structure. We can't have a simple ek mein, we can't incorporate them all, but this is a general structure we can talk about. Now agrarian classes, there are two on the basis of that there are two classes. That is feudalistic are the, because it is mentioned the other things that is not mentioned in your book. I just wanted you to know these things, because आप जब पढ़ोगे तो ये चीजें terms आएंगी, feudalistic agrarian system and all in your IGNO के book में. आई जस्ट वांटेड कि आपको एक एक्वेंटेंस हो जाए कि एक्चुअली क्या होता है क्लास एंड ऑल, सो दैट जब वेन एवर यू विल रीड यू विल गेट टू नो कि क्या है. Then agrarian class is feudalistic agrarian system. Feudalistics are the families generally owning or controlling substantially large area of land, but they do not engage in cultivation directly. They don't cultivate directly. They engage people. They lease out their lands to tenants who cultivate those lands. Their principles. So, anyone speaking? Anyone wants to say something? Okay. Their principal source of income from land comprises the rent paid by the tenants. So these are the feudalistic agrarian system people, those who hold large lands and they lend it to other people, give it to, they cultivate and they pay the rent to them. And the other one is capitalistic agrarian system. The farmers owning or controlling substantial land holdings who get their land cultivated with the help of wage laborers under their own direction and or delegated, like the one which we talk feudalistic, they हिंदी में we call it बटैया or something, like हर village के अलग अलग शब्द होते हैं, वो उनको दे देते हैं. Now they don't interfere in their work, they just take their share. आपने give me 50%, 60%, whatever share, and they take, or they take money from them. But the capitalistic one, they themselves they supervise the laborers and they get it done under their supervision. Even their family contributed in cultivation. कोई कुछ बोल रहा है क्या? Someone is speaking? Now I talked about movement. Why do movement take place? The classification we can talk about, or a classification of social movements. Social movements have been classified in a number of ways using one criteria or the other. It depends on ideology, strategy, nature, and extent of change. What type of change we want, what reform we want, the every movement is different, right? It depends on what we want the result from that movement. Like the main categories of people involved in such movements are peasants, workers, students, caste group, women, etc. Mukherjee 1983 has classified movements on the basis of the kind of change they seek to bring about. Those that seek to bring about or resist quasi-structural changes within the system. In the same system, some people want change, and that is called quasi-structural change within the system. That is, they may have some of the appearance of structural change, but in fact are not so. They are quasi movements. Some changes they want in the within the system. ऐसा हो like लोग ब्राइब लेते हैं, वो नहीं होना चाहिए, समथिंग लाइक द इन द सेम सिस्टम. Those that seek to bring about or resist alternative structural change, different structure altogether, they want a different structure, ये होना चाहिए. Changes by addition or deletion of some structures. Either they want to add something to it or they want to take off something out of it, like reservation के लिए हुआ था movement, so they wanted to add something, और लेने वापस लेने के लिए मूवमेंट हुआ तो दैट दे वांटेड टू डिलीट समथिंग फ्रॉम इट, राइट? Those that seek replacement of existing structures by alternative structure, altogether a different structure, these are social transformatory movements. तो complete social transformation, जैसे बाल विवाह पे हुआ था एंड ऑल, तो those movements were there, तो complete social transformation. And this because the various reasons why agrarian movements took place in India, we discussed also. That is, peasants were evicted from their lands. उनके land से ही उनको हटा दिया, भगा दिया था. उसके लिए हुआ. The rent that the peasant had to pay for their lands was increased. Like jamindars used to extract too much of money from them, whether drought ho, flood ho, anything. They just wanted their share. And as they also had to give revenue to the government, so they just exploited the peasant. Uske karan atrocities by the money lenders. Money lender, those used to lend money to the farmers and all. They used to like क्या कह सकते हैं, बहुत जुल्म करना उन पे. उसके कारण पीजेंट ट्रेडिशनल हैंडीक्राफ्ट्स पे रूइंड. प्री इंडिपेंडेंस द पीजेंट्स ट्रेडिशनल हैंडीक्राफ्ट जो इंडिया में होता था, दे वर रूइंड बिकॉज ऑफ द ब्रिटिश गुड्स. The cheap British, they replaced the cheap British goods. That's why traditional handicrafts were ruined. The ownership of land was taken away from the peasants during the Jamindari rule. That was one that resulted in the movement's massive debt, because इतना burden में हो जाते थे. They used to take loan from different people. तो उसके कारण colonial economic policies, the policies which were made by the British government, that also resulted in many movements. Land revenue system was not favoring the peasant. It was only favoring the big landlords. And these were the reasons why the movement, agrarian movements took place in India.
Yeah.
Anything till now? Any one of you want to say something on the topic? Your viewpoint? Because all of you are working professionals, you can read the chapter, you'll learn the chapter. It is very simple. But here we are discussing something. If we discuss the things, that will give you more clarity. Even attending the classes, it is not that I'll give you in something more, right? But if you only attend the class also, when you appear for the exam, something remains in your mind. Even if you attempt some questions you don't know, you can even attempt that. कुछ चीजें तो याद आएंगी जो हम लिख सकते हैं उसमें, कुछ बातें जो हम डिस्कस करेंगे यू कैन राइट इन द एग्जाम, especially 2-liners, 3-liners. So we can discuss, right? Anyone want to say something? Okay.
Madam,
Huh?
yeah, sorry for the yeah inconvenience.
Huh.
I we yeah we wish to know the total course structure. I mean, when there are exams, and also how to submit the assignments, and also
For the
where to
exam,
apply
will
from.
someone has shared a question paper. We'll discuss in last. First, let me finish the topic and then we'll discuss, right?
Yeah, okay, ma'am. Sure. Okay, ma'am, thank you.
Now comes the impact of peasant movement in India. What was the impact of the agrarian movement in India? Although these uprising had no intention of ending, it was not for ending to end the British rule in India, but did raise awareness among the population ki how they were exploited by them, right? Peasants became very conscious of their legal rights and fought for them in and out of court. Now to they are very much aware, but in those days they were not aware of their rights, but it helped them to know their legal rights. Peasants who fought directly for their objective became the dominant force in agricultural revolutions. During the non-cooperation movement, several Kisan Sabhas were established to organize and campaign for peasant concerns. So now, uh, they groups were organized. They came forward. They organized group to talk about their concerns. So that awareness uh, took place. People were more aware of their rights. They made groups to talk about their earlier. They never used to care for that, and they were simply exploited by the rich or by the government. These movements contributed to restructuring the agrarian movement in India by weakening the influence of the landed class, uh, that helped to that helped them to weaken the influence of the those who were rich landlords and all. Peasants needed to band together and fight against oppression and exploitation. They grouped together. They got connected with each other. People with the same problem, they got connected, and this helped them a lot. These recreational peasants movement paved the way for numerous other uphills around the nation. These helped to take other movements also. They could speak about the other things also about them. The peasants' voice were heard because they actively fought for their aspirations. Peasants' demands were met in the Indigo Revolt, Bardoli Satyagraha, the Pabna movement, and the Deccan Riots. These are the different names of the movements. Please go through your book and read out what happened in different movements, right? The non-violent philosophy gave the peasant who took part in the revolution a lot of power. The non-violent philosophy of Gandhiji. These are the, yes.
मैं एक चीज ऐड करना चाहूंगी, जैसे हमने यहाँ पे नॉन वायलेंट फिलोसॉफी, मतलब वी हैव डिस्कस नॉन वायलेंट फिलोसॉफी हियर,
हाँ
but
हाँ.
I think some revolts like Naxalite movements are there. Naxalwari, which has origins in the Naxalwari, I think Naxalwari movements in the West
Yes.
Bengal,
Yes.
and then after Naxalite movement followed, that somehow not completely we can say non-violent Naxalite movement,
Yeah,
Naxalwari.
Yes, they are not non-violent movements, but I'm talking about though that time, that is pre-independence and just after independence. Those days, these Naxal movements were not there, right? But within Duke now, so there all the movements they are not non-violent, right? Whatever is taking place in our country, whether it is for right cause or for wrong cause, some movements are for wrong cause also, but we are talking about agrarian movement where majority of farmers they were exploited. They never used it was in hands of few, only few rich farmer enjoyed their life, but other they were really exploited. They committed suicide, so lots of things happened at that time. Even now also, like Kisan movement, or sometimes what they do, Agjani and all, they do that is not non-violent, that is violent only, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So that on those days Gandhiji was there, so they were influenced by him, non-violence.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Ankita, I think, right?
Yes, ma'am.
आज की डेट में nothing is non-violent.
Yes.
But in those days they were influenced by Gandhiji's theory.
Even I think, ma'am, our like in US, mostly people have. There are some arms act. US has very relaxed arms acts.
Yes, they do. This Khalsa Andolan and all are taking. They are getting support from other countries also. It is not that only in India. They are getting support from different countries also. So they are no non-violent. They are not non-violent at all.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, this was the unit 1 of your course. Any questions till now? Any one of you? All are present?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Fine, ma'am.
Thing is
Okay.
that, ma'am, you are explaining really good, but from our end, we need to study, right? So, in that reason, we don't have any questions now.
Thank you so much. That's why I said please read the chapter so that whatever doubt you have, you can clear in the class. Basically, IGNU is not a regular one thing, right? But on the in these online classes, even I have done MSc CFT course from IGNU, so we never used to have any regular classes. Only doubt clearance sessions were used to be there कि आप पढ़ के आइए and ask the doubts. So if you have got this privilege, so please make use of it. We'll cover one more topic and then we'll take a break for 15 minutes and we'll meet again. Okay, Vilas?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, madam.
I'll share my screen again.
Ma'am, I think some kids are also watching this class.
Who are watching?
Some kids.
Kids
Okay,
with
kids.
with her mom.
Okay. Who's नाउ सेकेंड टॉपिक इज लैंड रिफॉर्म्स, और हमने बहुत पढ़ा है 9th 10th में. पढ़ा है नहीं पढ़ा है सबने? यस और नो? इट इज द सेम थिंग.
No.
नहीं पढ़ा है?
Yeah.
ओके. नहीं, ये तो सिलेबस में पढ़ा तो जरूर होगा. आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू आस्क एनी क्वेश्चन, डोंट वरी. ओके. अच्छा, वी कैन डिस्कस थोड़ा सा तो जरूर. कैन यू टेल मी क्या लैंड रिफॉर्म्स हुए थे? Which land reforms took place? Can you name one or two? Anyone?
जमींदारी सिस्टम मैम।
Yes. Abolition of Jamindari system. What else?
एंड भूदान सिस्टम, आई गेस भूदान,
हाँ
भूदान सिस्टम, भूदान मूवमेंट, सॉरी भूदान
हाँ,
मूवमेंट।
it was a movement, Bhudan movement. What reforms took place? Like क्या क्या हुआ था?
मैम ग्रीन रिवॉल्यूशन व्हाइट रिवॉल्यूशन क्या इसमें आ सकती है?
नहीं, लैंड रिफॉर्म्स में ग्रीन रेवोल्यूशन नहीं आएगा.
As per the new law, they have declared the workers who works in a land, they use that as a own land.
Yes,
They become a owner.
yes. It happened earlier. अभी तो लैंड ही नहीं बचा है किसी को देने के लिए. Population is rising.
मैम आई थिंक राइट टू प्रॉपर्टी एक्ट जो पहले हमारा फंडामेंटल राइट था, उसको फंडामेंटल राइट्स मतलब उससे नहीं रहा फंडामेंटल राइट, तो वो भी मेरे ख्याल से क्योंकि राइट टू प्रॉपर्टी एक्ट के अकॉर्डिंग काफी सारे लोगों के पास जो लैंड थी वो काफी ज्यादा अमाउंट में हो गई थी. तो आई थिंक राइट टू प्रॉपर्टी एक्ट के एवोल्यूशन को भी मतलब या सर्टेन सीलिंग लगाने से भी इतनी ही लैंड की क्वांटिटी होनी चाहिए पर हेड,
हाँ
तो उसको भी आई थिंक लैंड रिफॉर्म में रख सकते हैं.
हाँ हाँ, वो लैंड रिफॉर्म में ही था. एक्चुअली इनिशियली 4-5 स्टेप्स लिए गए थे, बट उसके नेम चेंज होते गए टाइम एंड अगेन. नए पॉलिसीज में, नए चीजों में आज भी चल रहा है, ऐसा नहीं. आज अब एवरीथिंग इज ऑनलाइन. पहले क्या होता था, कोई कोई आया और उसने क्या अपना कुछ एक 4 बांस ही लगा दिया और वो उसका लैंड बाद में धीरे धीरे वो उसकी प्रॉपर्टी को हड़प लेते थे. पर नाउ दे कांट डू दिस बिकॉज अब सब कुछ ऑनलाइन हो गया है. सारा रजिस्ट्रेशन वो भी उसी में आता है लैंड रिफॉर्म में, जो उसका डेटा कलेक्ट होता है एंड उसकी जो मेंटेन होती है डायरी, वो जो भी डॉक्यूमेंटेशन एंड ऑल, दैट इज आल्सो लैंड रिफॉर्म. तो
लैंड
ये सब
रिकॉर्ड्स को
कुछ
जो कर रहे हैं आई थिंक,
आ
लैंड रिकॉर्ड्स को जो डिजिटाइजेशन कर रहे हैं, डिजिटाइजेशन ऑफ द लैंड रिकॉर्ड्स.
हाँ, तो रिकॉर्ड दैट इज लैंड रिफॉर्म ओनली. तो अब बिल्कुल अब क्या है, एवरी आप आपका कोई लैंड होगा, यू कैन सर्च इट, आपका सब कुछ खुल जाएगा. सो नो वन कैन टेक इट फ्रॉम मी. पहले क्या होता था, किसी के लैंड को कोई 4 बार सेल भी कर देता था 2-4 डिफरेंट पीपल को. नाउ इट कांट हैपन, रजिस्ट्रेशन ही नहीं होगा. सो ऑल दोज थिंग कम्स अंडर लैंड रिफॉर्म. इनिशियली जस्ट आफ्टर इंडिपेंडेंस 4-5 चीजें हुई, उसके बाद धीरे धीरे नेम सिर्फ बदलता गया, चीजें तो वही रही, नेम बदलता गया. सो लैंड रिफॉर्म का जो सिंस इंडिपेंडेंस जो भी इसका ऑब्जेक्टिव है था रहा है, दैट इज जो बेसिक ऑब्जेक्टिव आज भी वही है, पहले भी वही था. रिस्ट्रक्चरिंग एग्रेरियन रिलेशंस टू अचीव एन इगैलिटेरियन सोशल स्ट्रक्चर, जहाँ पे सबको इक्वली सब का ट्रीटमेंट हो. लाइक कोई बड़ा कोई छोटा लैंड, किसी को लैंड ही नहीं, कोई एक्सप्लॉय वैसा कुछ ना हो. That was one reason. Eliminating exploitation in land relations. जो एक्सप्लॉइट करते थे बड़े लैंडलॉर्ड्स छोटे जो फार्मर्स एंड ऑल को, वो रियलाइजिंग द एज ओल्ड गोल ऑफ लैंड टू द टिलर. जो बहुत लोग सालों से, एज यू सेड, कि उनका लैंड हो जाएगा, दोज हु वेर कल्टिवेटिंग दोज लैंड, तो उनको वो मिल जाए. इवन कैलकाटा एंड ऑल में पीपल पे मार्केट्स में वेरी लेस रेंट. जो लोग बहुत साल से किसी घर में रह रहे हैं, लाइक 50 ईयर्स से, दे आर जस्ट पेइंग आज भी 400-500, जबकि वहाँ की प्रॉपर्टी का रेट इज टू हाई. एंड बहुत सारे को तो ओनरशिप भी मिल गया है. तो ऐसे हर तरह के रिफॉर्म्स होते रहे. Increasing agricultural production and infusing equality in society. एग्रीकल्चर प्रोडक्शन के लिए भी and infusing equality in society. These are the main goals of land reforms. पहले भी था, आज भी है, थोड़े मोरे add on हुए होंगे उसमें, bit change according to the changes in society. The term land reform specially refers to land tenure reforms. The word tenure derived from the Latin word tenure means to hold. Therefore, the land tenure is used to refer to the condition under which land is held. The land reforms are visualized as an instrument of social justice as they seek to do away with exploitative relationship characterized by sharp class division, जो class division थे लोगों के बीच में between rich land owning class and impoverished peasants with no security of tenure. उनको ये भी नहीं था कि आज मैं हूँ कल मुझे भगा देंगे. So they had no security. Insecurity was there. It is step against the concentration of land holdings in the hands of a few. Absentee non-cultivating owners. Absentee landlords के बारे में we talked about. These words we talked about. Through imposition of ceiling on the size of holdings were sealed, which can be owned by a family. Now, these are the components of land reform: abolition of intermediate tenures. जो इंटरमीडियरी बीच में होते थे जिनके थ्रू एक से दूसरे को तीसरे को रेंट एंड ऑल जाता था, वो बीच से इंटरमीडियरी को टेन्योर लाइक जमींदारी सिस्टम एंड ऑल, दे वेर द इंटरमीडियरीज ओनली जो गवर्नमेंट को वो रेवेन्यू देते थे एंड दे यूज्ड टू टेक रेंट फ्रॉम द फार्मर्स. टेनेंसी रिफॉर्म, लोगों को जो लोग बहुत दिन से कर रहे हैं कल्टीवेशन एंड ऑल टू गिव देम द लैंड. सीलिंग ऑफ लैंड होल्डिंग एंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ सरप्लस लैंड. कंसोलिडेशन ऑफ होल्डिंग्स एक जगह करना सो दैट मास स्केल पे एग्रीकल्चर एंड और फार्मिंग एंड ऑल हो सके. कंपाइलेशन एंड अपडेटिंग ऑफ लैंड रिकॉर्ड्स. So land ownership patterns under the British rule ऐसा था, like Bengal Jamindar Lord Cornwallis introduced the permanent settlement in 1793. Under this system, a class of landlords called Jamindars was created, whose responsibility it was to pay a fixed rent to the government. को वो पे करते थे, एक रेवेन्यू पे करते थे, और वो लोग जो लोगों से खेती कराते थे लाइक टेनेंट से, दे यूज टू टेक मनी एंड दे यूज टू गिव इट टू द गवर्नमेंट. दे नेवर थॉट ऑफ कि अच्छा अभी ड्रॉट है या फ्लड है. सो दैट्स व्हाई द फार्मर्स वेर एक्सप्लॉइटेड बाय द जमींदार्स, बिकॉज जमींदार को अपना पैसे लेने थे एंड सरकार को देना था. एंड सरकार गवर्नमेंट नेवर बॉदर्ड कि फ्रॉम वेयर द जमींदार्स विल गिव मनी टू देम. सो हर कोई का अपना वेस्टेड इंटरेस्ट वाज देयर एंड उसमें जो बेचारे पुअर फार्मर्स लेबरर्स थे, दे यूज्ड टू सफर अ लॉट. So this was the pattern in pre-independence era. Because farmers they didn't have the ownership of land, jamindars used to give their land to them to cultivate. जागीरदारी सिस्टम होती थी, जमींदारी सिस्टम, महलवारी, they are different names of the same thing. Several important issues confronted the government and stood as a challenge in front of independent India. जब हुआ तो उनको they faced these problems. Land was concentrated in the hands of a few and there was a proliferation of intermediaries who had no vested interest in self-cultivation. The tenancy contracts were expropriative in nature and tenant exploitation was almost everywhere. Throughout the country, land records were extremely in bad shape. पता ही नहीं था कौन सा लैंड किसका है, जिसका वो जमींदार ने ज्यादातर अपने अंदर लाइक जमींदारी एंड जागीरदारी सिस्टम सरकार दे देती थी कि ना यू आर द जमींदार, यू होल्ड दिस मच ऑफ लैंड, या जागीरदारी दे देती थी किसी भी एक जगह का. सो देयर वाज एक्चुअली नो रिकॉर्ड. One problem of agriculture was that the land was fragmented into small parts. So commercial farming could not take place. छोटे units में it was fragmented. किस यहाँ है, फिर यहाँ land, एक ही बंदे का 10 जगह land भी था. So that was also a big problem. It resulted in inefficient use of soil, capital, and labor in the form of boundary lands and boundary disputes. Just a minute. So as I talked, Royatwari system, Jamindari system, all the same system. Only Jamindari में intermediary was there, like Jamindars were there. यहाँ पे Royatwari system में there was absence of any middleman. जमींदार और गवर्नमेंट के बीच में भी बहुत सारे मिडिल मैन होते थे. सो दैट एब्सेंस वाज देयर इवन इन द महलवारी सिस्टम. सो दे आर डिफरेंट नेम्स ऑफ द ऑलमोस्ट सेम थिंग. टैक्स वैसे ही लोगों से, बेचारे गरीबों से लेते थे एंड सरकार को देते थे. Between 1859 and 1938, many tenancy acts were passed and abolished by the British to get rid of the system of abuses by giving the tenants a measure of protection. This led to setting of Bengal Land Revenue Commission in 1942, commonly known as Flood Commission, which recommended that the Jamindari system was detrimental to agricultural efficiency and should be abolished. That's why this act was taken by the British government only. It also went on suggesting that the state should acquire all lands of rent receiver. That the jamindars नहीं हो, सारे land state के होते थे, and there was a direct connect with government and the cultivators, the farmers. The British succeeded in some state, Bengal for instance, but failed in many states. Most of the states in India, they failed to implement this. By the time the British rule came to an end, intermediate tenures in Jamindari came to an end with that. And the real land reforms which took place, that was post independence. A committee under the chairmanship of J.C. Kumarappan was appointed to look into the problem of land. The Kumarappa committee report recommended comprehensive agrarian reform measures. The land reform of the independent India had four components जो मैं हमने अभी बात किया. The abolition of the intermediaries, that is जमींदारी system. Tenancy reform, जो tenants हैं उनके लिए reforms. Fixing ceilings of land holdings, like बहुत बड़े बड़े land थे तो there was a fixing of land ceilings on land holding. And consolidation of land. डिफरेंट जगहों पे जो लैंड्स होते थे एक ही फैमिली के 4 जगह या एक ही लोग के, तो उसको एक जगह सो दैट कंसोलिडेट करके, या एक गांव का भी, सो दैट लार्ज स्केल फार्मिंग कुड बी डन, ज़्यादा प्रोडक्शन इंक्रीज करने के लिए. दीज वर टेकन इन फेजेस बिकॉज ऑफ द नीड टू स्टैब्लिश अ पॉलिटिकल विल फॉर देयर वाइडर एक्सेप्टेंस ऑफ. एक बार में नहीं हुआ, धीरे बारी बारी किया गया, सो दैट एक मास रिवोल्ट ना हो जाए उसके अगेंस्ट. First was abolition of intermediary, that is Jamindari system was abolished. The advantage of this was this led to end the parasite class, जो खून चूसने वाले class होते थे, जो exploit करते थे, तो end of that class. And more lands have been brought to government possession. ज़्यादा land government के अंडर में आया. For distribution to landless farmers को उन्होंने फिर उसको distribute करके, ताकि सारे गांव वालों को, farmers को लैंड मिल सके एंड वो कल्टीवेशन कर सके. अ कंसिडरेबल area of cultivable wasteland and private forests belonging to the intermediaries has been vested in the state. बहुत सारे wasteland थे जिनको कुछ भी नहीं, forest के parts, या जो आज भी आप कहते हैं ना यहाँ farm house, यहाँ इसका वो, so all those things came under the government. The legal abolition brought the cultivators in direct contact with the government. They came in direct contact with the government. But it has disadvantages also. It did not wipe off the landlordism or the tenancy or sharecropping system, which continued in many areas. में वो continue होके रह गया कि लोगों ने क्या किया, वही लैंड को अपने अलग 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 पूरे भाई बंधु में बांट के, और बहुत लोगों ने दूसरी शादी भी कर ली, ताकि जो लीगल वाइफ नहीं, वाइफ को तो उसी में शेयर मिलता, अदरवाइज जो दूसरी लेडी होगी शील गेट मोर शेयर, ऐसा करके वो लोगों ने बहुत सारे, आज भी लोग अपना लेते हैं नए नए तुक्के तरीके, सो दे डिड दैट, तो बहुत प्रॉपरली इम्प्लीमेंट नहीं हो पाया. इट ओनली रिमूव द टॉप लेयर ऑफ लैंडलॉर्ड्स इन द मल्टी लेयर्ड एग्रीगेशन स्ट्रक्चर. जो बहुत टॉप लेयर, जो बहुत ज्यादा जिनके पास थी, इट ओनली रिमूव दैट, बट उसके अंदर भी लेयर्स वर देयर, उससे छोटे किसान, उससे छोटे किसान, उससे, तो दैट द होल स्ट्रक्चर को उतना फर्क नहीं पड़ा. इट हैज लेड टू लार्ज स्केल एविक्शन, दैट मीन्स खाली जब करवाया गया, large in turn has given rise to several problems, social, economic, administrative and legal. जब तो कैसे क्या करें, सो इतना सारा लैंड को लार्ज स्केल एविक्शन हुआ, खाली कराया गया, तो उसमें फिर बहुत सारे सोशल इश्यूज आए, रिवोल्ट हुआ होगा, बहुत सारे इकोनॉमिक प्रॉब्लम आए, कैसे डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन करें, गवर्नमेंट के लिए एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव कैसे देखें, क्या देखें, whom to appoint, यहाँ पे क्या करें, सो लॉट्स ऑफ थिंग, लॉट्स ऑफ प्रॉब्लम टुक प्लेस. The next is tenancy reforms. After passing the Jamandari Abolition Act, the next measure was tenancy regulation. The rent paid by the tenants बहुत ज़्यादा थे. Earlier, it was exorbitant. That was 35 and 75% to 75% of the gross produce throughout the India. Or basically, they used to give 70-75% only. They hardly used to save for themselves. इसीलिए रिवोल्ट्स टुक प्लेस. द रीजन बिहाइंड दैट, बिकॉज उनकी कंडीशन वर्स्ट होती गई, वो डेट में आ गए, बहुत सारे लोन ले लिया, ये बहुत बहुत ही बुरे हाल में पूरे किसान थे उस समय. So tenancy reform introduced to regulate rent. Rent regulation was done. It was fixed to 20 to 25% of the gross produce in all state except Punjab, Haryana, Jammu Kashmir, Tamil Nadu, and some parts of Andhra Pradesh. The reform attempted either to outlaw law tenancy altogether or to regulate rents to give some security to the tenants. At least they had some security कि हाँ मेरे पास इतना से, पहले तो they were insecure कि क्या होगा, बाढ़ आ गया क्या होगा, क्या करेंगे, सूखा है क्या करेंगे. तो नाउ दे वैसे कुछ सिचुएशन में ऑल्सो उनको कंसेशन वाज गिवन. In West Bengal and Kerala, there was a radical restructuring of the agrarian structure and gave land rights to the tenants. वहाँ पे तो और ज्यादा restructuring हुआ. They जो tenants जो थे, those who were cultivating, they got the right of the land. In most of the states, these laws were never implemented very effectively. Despite repeated emphasis in the plan documents, some states could not pass legislation to confirm rights of ownership to tenants. So, flaws बहुत थे, because properly हर स्टेट में implement नहीं हो पाए. कुछ स्टेट ने, जैसे वेस्ट बंगाल और केरला में अच्छे से implement हुआ, बहुत जगह नहीं भी हुआ properly. So these issues were there. Now third reform was sealing on land holdings. जिनके बड़े लैंड थे उनको, उन पे एक लिमिट कर दिया गया कि one family can hold this size of land only, not more than that. So it was fixed. Limits were fixed, like 10 to 18 acres for best land, 18 to 27 for second class land, and 27 to 54 acres for land with a slightly higher limit in the hill or desert area. With the help of these reforms, the state was supposed to identify and take possession of surplus land the state took from them above the ceiling limit held by each household and redistributed it to the landless families and households. In other specified categories like SC, ST, they do get some benefits, so it was redistributed among them. Issues again, this again had issues. Here also Benami transfers were there, like they divided the land among their own relatives so that it is not sealed. In most of the state, these acts proved to be toothless. There were many loopholes and other strategies, though, which most land owners were able to escape from having their surplus land taken over by the state. They came out with some or the other tricks to avoid this, like Bemanami transfers and all. Now, fourth reform was consolidation of land holdings. Consolidation referred to reorganization, redistribution of fragmented land into one plot. As we talked earlier, like किसी का land यहाँ है अलग अलग जगहों पे है, तो it was considered either by buying or by uh, exchanging with the other. So one person uh, land, like if a person has a land at this place, that person will exchange it with the other person जिसका यहाँ पे भी land है वहाँ पे भी land है, or they'll buy, so that land, they'll have their land at one place only. This resulted in large scale farming and all, because small टुकड़ों पे farming करना, it is difficult, उसका production is less, low, and if we cultivate on large land, production will increase. So that this is the reason behind that, so that economic condition of the farmers will also to increase, raise the economic condition of the farmers. These irrigation facilities, like pooled irrigation facilities, were given ek jagah, those things took place under these reforms. Almost all state except Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Manipur, Nagaland, Tripura, and parts of Andhra Pradesh enacted law for consolidation of holdings. And apart from these states, they all implemented this law. In Punjab and Haryana, there was compulsory consolidation of the land. Like we spoke tenancy in West Bengal and one more state, tenancy law was implemented very effectively. Similarly, in Punjab and Haryana, consolidation of land holdings was implemented very well. Now, advantage, it prevented the endless subdivision and fragmentation of land holdings. It saved time and labor of the farmers spent in irrigating and cultivating lands at different places. The reform also brought down the cost of cultivation and reduced litigation among farmers as well. But again, reconsolidation need has come, because in 1971, the average holding site was 2.28 8 hectares, which has come down to 1.08 hectares in 2015 and 16. And the last is compilation and updating of land records, which is improving every day. As I said, now it is all digitalized, everything is available on internet. A land record management system is a precondition for an effective land reform program. In 1987-88, a centrally sponsored scheme for strengthening of revenue administration and updating of land records, SRA and ULR, was introduced in Orissa and Bihar, and the scheme was extended to other states in 1989 and 90. It provides funds for survey and resettlement operations, survey करना कहाँ क्या कैसा, and resettlement operations, then training for revenue and settlement staffs, facility for modernization of survey and settlement operation and strength. All these things are covered under this, so that properly land records are maintained, people are trained for that, कि how to do it, surveys are done कि किसका क्या है, कहाँ किसकी संपत्ति है, किसकी प्रॉपर्टी कहाँ है, so that properly things could take place. So this is all for the land reforms. Your unit 2. Any question from your side? Anything you want to add on? Are you all there?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Ankita and 5 others are also there.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So anything you want to add? Very simple chapter जो हमने पहले भी पढ़ा है, but still if you want to add on something. Sahera, you want to say something?
No, ma'am. By mistake it happens.
Okay. Any problem from my side if you're not getting what I am talking about?
मैम जैसे जो ग्रीन रिवॉल्यूशन